It's Friday, the 8th of December 2023. A very warm welcome to the channel. Now, a video I made not so long ago referring to the Chinese cars and don't buy it. There seems to be some confusion over it. And yes, I did make some mistakes here. Let me just clarify and let's do a little bit of homework. We were talking about BYD and I always thought it was Beyond Your Dreams. But I got that one is Build Your Dreams. So I got that wrong. Hands up, my bad. I apologize. Then I got some complaints related to a EV doesn't have pistons, etc. inside it with that video with the Australian mechanic explaining. Maybe I got it a bit confusing, and I'm a very, very simple kind of guy. Well, I was trying to explain that this mechanic was dealing with motor vehicles, and that's why I said don't buy it, because from the very start you could have problems with the oil change, etc., etc. BYD now is the biggest car manufacturer in the world, and they produce millions of these electric vehicles per year. And with that, would I buy any kind of electric vehicle? The answer to me is no, not at the moment, because the battery seems to be the problem, that you can only go maybe like 200-300 miles, like 500 kilometers, then you have to charge it for 45 minutes. And if you charge this on a highway, or for example, or a motorway or a freeway, on interstate, the gasoline prices are usually a lot higher. They are in the UK compared to, you could say, your local supermarket. And it's exactly the same with EVs, that you go and fill up with electricity, so to speak, for 45 minutes. And it actually costs more than the gasoline itself. I watched this video over it, so if you're not so worried about the environment, so to speak, and global warming, then I would always go for a gasoline car. If you are, if you're concerned about the environment and you have the money to actually afford one of these very expensive electric vehicles, then go ahead. For me, I would stick just with gasoline. Maybe I'm a petrol head, whatever. I don't actually own a car. I just have a little Honda ADV 160. So what I wanted to do today is maybe clarify that what people got confused about as well. Made in China and made in China. Now, I have two products here which are made in China, and I have another product here which is made in China. It gets confusing. Let's take a short break and I'll explain what I mean. This is the microphone that I use. This is an Australian brand. It's very popular. I think you pronounce it Rode. And this Australian brand. And they're really good quality. This is actually made in China, but it's not owned by a Chinese company. It's just made in China to cut the costs down. For example, there. It's fine. You have your iPhone. It's made in China, but it comes from the Apple Corporation. In other words, the company is not owned by a Chinese company, may have investors from China, but it is an American product. It's just made in China to keep the costs down. This little camera there, this is made in China, and it is made by a Chinese company, made in China. That's the difference. Now, when I did buy this, I did a lot, and I mean a lot of research and a lot of reviews on this new camera, whether it's going to maintain. So I looked into the history of it, I looked into the quality of it, I looked into some of the reviews from the really good tech guys like Mr. Who's the Boss, for example, and he highly recommended it. And he has a trust factor there. So this is where I think people got confused a little bit, and you can see that I didn't get many thumbs up. In fact, 17 people gave me a thumbs down or something like that. But this is maybe where the confusion laid. Let's do another break. Now, with Chinese cars, now, would I buy one? No. I will be very honest with you. I bought a motorbike 3 years ago. It's from Italy, Benelli, but that now Benelli is owned by a Chinese company. It was a beautiful motorbike. It had Italian passion. It was Italian design. It was wonderful. Then the CPU inside it sort of like died, and that was in 2 years of this motorbike, and I had to get it replaced. Then the actual CPU and the actual product was made in China. So this is what happens quite often, that if there is the company that, for example, like MG Motors, Morris Garage Motors, they are a British company, but they were bought and now they're owned by a Shanghai company. The motorbike I bought, Benelli, is an Italian company from 1911, but it was bought by a Chinese company. So when this Chinese company comes into it, they're just going to use the products made in China, and they don't have this quality guarantee like it's made in Taiwan or Japan or even now Korea, because the company want to cut costs. They look stylish, they look beautiful, but after a couple of years, it sort of goes kaput. At the same time, I had some comments that said, I've had a Chinese car for 10 years. That means you bought it in 2013 and said it's been running fine. So maybe I'm wrong with that one. But it's the same as Korea. That's what I'm going to compare it to with, let's say, Kia. Now, Kia, you could say 13 years ago, well, would you really buy one? You would buy one because it's sort of like, well, cheap, and they offered you this really good sort of like lifetime guarantee on parts, etc. But people still wouldn't buy one if they had the choice. And if it's the same price as something like a Toyota, you would always go with that because it has the reliability, it has the you could even say the guarantee. They've been doing it for years and years and years. So when I was going with the cars in China, I was saying, go ahead and buy one if you want to, but I would personally wait maybe 10, maybe 20 years to buy one to see how they are afterwards. Now, if you look at a car review channel on YouTube, they only show the new cars, and it's very rare that you would see an old car, which is like maybe 2, 3, 4, well, let's say 5, 6 years old, in that kind of respect. And most of the time they would say, wow, it's really good. I remember the old YouTube and sorry, not the old YouTube, the old Top Gear on BBC Two, and it had Jeremy Clarkson, Captain Slow, and the little short guy. I've forgotten his name. And then they went on to Amazon and they did the Grand Tour. These guys were really honest about new cars, and they would say it's a piece of crap, basically, when it to the consumer. Nowadays, that would be very rare for a new car near enough anywhere. They will always say, oh, how marvelous it is, how fantastic it is. Nowadays, they sort of don't do it, and that's why they're sort of were famous. They were really honest with a car. Ferrari would lend them a car for a weekend, and it cost $1 million for you to buy the car, and they would say it's absolutely useless compared to the old Ferrari, and say don't buy it. But that's Ferrari's gamble, and they would go to all kind of cars like Ford, Chrysler, etc., etc., etc. So what I'm just trying to say is, if you're thinking about a new car and you've got, let's say, $50,000 to spend, would you wisely spend that money on a car made in China? In other words, manufactured, owned, bam, in China. Or would you buy a Toyota, for example, for the same price? Now, it may be made in China, but it's still owned, and the quality control of that car is from Japan. And I would go with the Japanese, especially if you're going to pay the same price for cars. Here in Cambodia, you do actually see quite a few Chinese cars nowadays, but you can actually see the prices of it, and it would say you can buy this car for 40,000 American dollars or 50. But then at the same time, you can have a Ford at the same price, like a Ford Explorer or whatever they are. Ford Titanium, I think, is one of the new brands. And with that, which one would you buy? Something that's been a Ford, which has been around for decades, over 100 years, or something, or a small company, or a big company, or whatever it is, a Chinese company with a car that is, they've only been manufacturing for 10, 20 years. I would say it's the same as many things in life nowadays as well. But unfortunately, the Chinese cars are the new ones on the market, they're the new kids on the block. They've got to go through the same, I'm going to use a bad word, they're going to go through the same shit like Toyota did in the 1970s. Now they're a leading company. And hopefully, and I hope they do succeed, but don't take shortcuts on safety, batteries, and just the quality of it. It, again, all looks shiny and new when you buy it, but what about after 5 years, 6 years? Does it look the same if you look after it, for example? There was a guy on YouTube the other day who bought one of a Chinese car, and basically within like 6 months, he had to take it back to the car showroom, to that company 13 times because he was so mad about it. And eventually he just gave up and he smashed the car in this car showroom. His car he smashed up because he was so tired of the problems that were constant with his Chinese car. So maybe this is a consumer advice, and I'm a very simple person. One guy actually stated that I don't know about facts. Well, thank you very much. I'm just speaking the simple truth and what I see with my own eyes. If you are going to spend anything which is rather expensive, and you're comparing like a speaker system for your house or a TV for your house. Now, if you're going to buy a TV, which brand would you go for? Let's say you've got $1,000 to spend. Would you buy the Chinese brand, or would you buy the Korean brand or the Japanese brand? That's my point of view. If it's the same price, you're going to go with the company that has been trusted or been around for a long time, rather than a Chinese company which hasn't been around for a long time. Again, they are the new kids on the block, and they've got to go through this whole process like you could say LG did, Samsung did, for example, but they are now world recognized. I'm going to leave it there for now. I think I waffled on long enough, and it would be great to see some of the reviews. Don't forget the thumbs up if you do enjoy the work and you do enjoy my videos. Do check that you have subscribed, and sometimes the subscription goes away. Please click that box again. And if you want to help financially, then all the links are in the description below. Whew, it's around about 7 o'clock in the morning, so I'm drinking my lovely cup of coffee for now. God bless to all. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.